So Christina Buttons, someone who just left the Daily Wire yesterday, is trying to expose Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and other employees of the Daily Wire on her way out for being transphobic and other things that the left always loves to call them, just the leftist talking points, the I feel like stuff that Sydney Watson was saying in her lawsuit. And who knows, man, maybe we'll have another lawsuit coming soon with this Christina Buttons situation, because her response to this whole why I'm leaving the Daily Wire stuff is not too good. I'm not going to lie. It's not many people are in support of her. Here is the article that she wrote, but first let's read her tweet. I'm leaving the Daily Wire. I work hard getting the facts right and using precise language because of the heated nature of the gender debate, with so much at stake while the pundits dump gasoline all over it for entertainment and clicks. And I guess you could probably guess who she's talking about here by the thumbnail. Matt Walsh is mostly who she's talking about here. Michael Knowles as well. But this article is her article called Why I'm Leaving the Daily Wire, and I'm not going to subscribe to read the whole thing, but we'll read some of it, and then I'll go to another article that kind of summarizes the rest. After much consideration, I am tendering my resignation from the Daily Wire, a publication to which I dedicated my time and passion as an investigative reporter for the last 6 months. My interest in the trans debate became all-consuming when I realized that so many of our trusted institutions, the mainstream media, government, academia, civil rights and gay rights organizations, big tech, and the medical establishment were misled on this issue and were misleading the public in turn. As a pro-choice atheist and someone who consistently voted Democrat throughout my adult life, this realization, as I've written, was nothing short of world-rocking. When the documentary What is a Woman released in 2022, I thought it was a brilliant documentary on the state of our culture. Matt Walsh didn't insult his interviewees, but instead let them embarrass themselves with deeply incoherent attempts to answer a question any first grader should be able to answer. Even my liberal parents loved the movie, so when the Daily Wire approached me with the opportunity to write exclusively on transgender issues with the emphasis on pediatric gender medicine, I accepted. And here's the point where you can't read anymore. So let's go over to the Daily Dot, which also is trashing on Matt Walsh. Of course, it's the Daily Dot. Of course they would. But they also summarize what Christina Buttons has to say in her article. Buttons wrote that she began working at the Daily Wire with the understanding that adults living their lives who kept kids out of it were exempt from its laser focus on the trans community. She claimed that in the 6 months she was with the outlet, she worked hard to accurately convey the truth about trans people, but such painstaking attention to detail is rendered meaningless when the company's flagship entertainers and personalities speak impulsively and deploy divisive rhetoric for entertainment and clicks, obviously trying to attack Matt Walsh and a couple of others who she'll mention here by name. She called out Walsh and Knowles by name, there you go. She described Walsh's transphobic documentary, What is a Woman, as brilliant, but suggested that his rhetoric has become too aggressive as of late. Buttons specifically referenced Walsh's recent segment attacking prominent trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who he called manufactured and lifeless, and like some kind of human deepfake. Buttons said that Walsh defended his remarks as a good strategy to rally the base. This triggered a race to the bottom, with the other social media personas one-upping each other to see who can take more extreme stances. So she's pretty much saying that Knowles and Matt Walsh are two people who really just try to play up how extreme everything is, like the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, calling him manufactured and lifeless and some kind of human deepfake. Christina Buttons is saying that both of them are simply just playing up how much they care about this issue, trying to make it as extreme as possible to get clicks. And I personally haven't been following Matt Walsh for that long. Obviously, everybody wants clicks, right? You can't really make anything happen. You can't make any money. You can't make any change unless you get the clicks. So obviously, Matt Walsh isn't posting videos on YouTube, isn't posting stuff on Twitter for it to get 0 clicks. He obviously wants it to get some sort of attention, but I think Matt Walsh, the meaning that he has behind all this stuff, the purpose behind the attention is definitely more pure than a lot of other creators out there, I would say. But here, Matt Walsh did actually respond to Christina Buttons directly. He quote tweeted that original tweet and said, 1, if you had concerns, you could have walked across the room and talked to me, but you never did. 2, you were well aware of what I achieved in this fight. I would stack those achievements up against anyone. I'm not in this for clicks and entertainment, and you know that. And she responded, Christina Buttons responded, who is obviously, just to remind you, the employee who left the Daily Wire, and she's just trying to expose Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro and Knowles on her way out. I have been a fan of yours because I know you deeply care about this issue as I do. I appreciate a lot of the work that you've done, including your part in legislative bans in red states, but there are far more children in blue states affected by this ideology, and the only way to help them is by convincing the US-based medical orgs to conduct systematic reviews of the evidence as European countries have, so that they also abandon the affirmative model of care. Those medical organizations hold all the power. We have to appeal them with reason and evidence. So I'm baffled by your strategy to not want to convince the other side. It is the only way to protect everyone, not just the kids in red states. I have parents from blue states coming in who are scared shitless because things keep getting worse for them. We have the evidence, we have the better arguments, we are morally right, and we should find a better way to communicate to them instead of giving up on trying to win people over to our side. See, the problem with this is those people will never be convinced. Those people will never ever be convinced. And this video is, it's going to be too long and it's not really about my personal opinions anyway. So I'm not going to go too deep into it, but these people will never be convinced. And we've seen that over and over again, no matter what kind of facts you present them, no matter what kind of logic you give them. Look at the jab situation. At first, it was trust the science, get this or you can't get a job, get this or you can't get on a plane, get this or your life is pretty much ruined, but you don't have to get it. But get it or else you can't really do anything at all. Trust the science, right? And then the science flips on them and none of their opinions change at all. Maybe a few here and there change their mind. But the people who are really hard up about you must get this or you can't do anything, you can't go outside, those people never change their mind. Even though the science completely changed on them, the science is completely against them now. None of them changed their mind because they don't care about logic. They don't care about facts. They don't care about evidence. They don't care about any of that stuff. They don't care. They're going to have their opinion and they're going to fight for their side like it's a sports team. If you're a true fan of a sports team, you don't switch up on your sports team whenever they suck. You stay on their side. Their side right now is sucking, but it's like a sports team. So they're going to stay there, even though they're completely wrong. And that's what Matt Walsh is saying. It's over. The time for convincing the other side is over. We have to fortify the ground that we have already, because that's all we're going to get. We're not going to ever change their mind. So we might as well just fortify the red states that we do have and, just move forward from there. And hopefully over time, the pendulum will just swing back the other direction and we can actually make some change once the media changes and all of that. But as of now, man, these people don't care about facts and logic or any of the other things that you're trying to say. Obviously, this is the Daily Dot's tweet here of their article. They say Matt Walsh lashes out at Daily Wire reporter who quit over his increasing transphobia. He responded to that and said, "Sure, I lashed out by simply responding to criticisms that were made in public by someone who chose to go the public route rather than talking to me privately." It is kind of stupid and cringy that she would make this tweet, as obviously, I don't know Christina Buttons that well, right? I've heard her name a few times. I don't really know who she is that well, so I'm not going to make concrete assumptions. But what it seems like to me, from the outside looking in, is that 6 months ago, this person went into the Daily Wire kind of just as a money grab, not really believing in what the Daily Wire believes in and trying to fight these trans issues. And probably understanding that, hey, if I go in here, I could build up a little bit of a name for myself and I could probably leave in 6 months to a year, go out with a bang, try to expose Matt Walsh for being transphobic, expose Ben Shapiro for being transphobic and supporting Matt Walsh and Knowles and all of the others. She probably had that idea going in, is what I would assume. Because if she really did want to make a change at the Daily Wire, she wouldn't just leave and write about it and make a big mess about it on her way out. She would have talked to Ben Shapiro. She would have talked to Matt Walsh. She would have talked to somebody who, she could actually logic and reason their way out of it, right? That's her whole thing. We should use logic and reason to convince the other side that they're wrong. Why doesn't she use logic and reason to convince Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro that they're wrong while she's still at the company? Doesn't make any sense. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation about Christina Buttons trying to expose Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and all the others who work at the Daily Wire and talk about these issues. Let me know what you think about the entire situation.